Friday Night Lights podcast. I'm Michelle,
And I'm Liz.
and I have my voice back. So,
Almost
yay!
100%.
Almost still not 100%. I'm still
Yeah.
coughing. And right before you came in, Liz, to the Zoom, I was coughing. It feels like I have like hair stuck in the back of my throat. You know that feeling?
It's the worst. The
I know.
dry tickle,
Yes.
nothing you can do about it.
I know. Like, how? This is like over 2 weeks now.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm glad that I
Mhm.
sound a little bit more like myself. Glad to be back. We're discussing season 4, episode 9, The Lights in Carroll Park, written by Patrick Massett and directed by Christopher Missiano. Original air date January 13th, 2010. In this episode, Coach Taylor and Buddy try to make a park safer for the East Dillon players. Tami feels distant from Coach. Julie makes a new friend while volunteering. Becky faces the consequences of her one night stand with Luke.
Yeah.
You predicted that.
I did. I was like, there's no way this is Tim Riggins' baby. There's
No.
no way.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't even think this show would do that. It would just be like too icky. Even though really they're only what, 2 years old? Like Tim's what, 2 years older than her at this point?
I know that's it.
I
But it just
know.
seems like so far from each other.
Yeah, he
And
does.
their life paths are so different now.
Yeah, I agree.
Or not. Like, what is Tim doing? I
What?
guess we'll get there.
He's just drinking beers. What's he
Ju-
doing?
That's
Oh, he's
all he's
drinking
doing
beers.
is just drink. How does he have the money to afford beers?
Well, I mean, he's drinking the cheap stuff. So, I mean, his rent's
Still,
cheap, right? And
I
he just
guess.
does Reagan's rig stuff and drinks beers all day.
What a life.
What a life to be Tim Riggins.
Hmm.
So after Tinker hasn't shown up to practice in a few days, Dallas Tinker to be exact,
Who would have known?
who would have known? Coach visits Carroll Park, which is considered to be a sketchy part of East Dillon. And while he's there, he's questioning, like, hey, has anybody seen Tinker? A 12-year-old boy is shot. And this causes Coach to want to get the lights turned on with hopes to make this a little bit of a safer place for the players who live in the town and also just the kids to hang out at night.
I loved in the chat. We were all like, Coach didn't even flinch whatsoever. Almost like, was that a
Nothing.
gunshot? Because he didn't react at all.
Do you think he was just so much in shock?
I guess. I don't know. If I heard it, I'm gone. I don't know. I don't know where I'm running to, but I'm going
You're
somewhere.
running. You are running.
You're
He just
running or
stood
taking
there.
cover or something. Like he just stood there, didn't know what was happening. And this poor little boy got shot. I mean,
Yeah.
luckily, I think he will be okay, right?
Yes.
He didn't die, but
It's sad.
where'd it
Yeah.
come from?
I know. And so Coach turns to Buddy for help to try to get the lights turned on. Hey, can you talk to Mayor Rodell? And which Buddy's just like so Buddy in this episode beyond. He's like cringes. He's so cringy.
Yes.
And he
He's the
says,
ultimate buddy,
exactly. He is the ultimate Buddy in this
but
episode.
also like in a nice way. I can't explain
Yeah,
it.
he means well. It's just the language. Like when he
Hmm.
says, "Oh yeah, me and Marinelle had a thing before. She played for the other team." I was like, dude, did you have to say that?
You wish.
You wish, right? Also, Buddy keeps saying he wants to take back the park, and Coach is
Yeah.
like, "No, we're
It
not
was
trying
never
to.
his park to begin with.
Right, we're not taking anything back. We just want to clean it up." So Buddy goes to get his barbecue order at Ray's and he tells Virgil the plan to clean up the park. And he tells him straight up, like, you're an idiot for trying. Like, there's no way that the kids are going to respond to you. It's not going to happen. But he shares with him his contact, Eldon. And he's like, this is a guy you guys should talk to. He can speak to the kids. And so Coach, Buddy, and Virgil, they meet with Eldon and he straight up tells them, like, you need money for programs, you need support from local businesses, and it needs to be ongoing. This can't just be like, oh no, I saw a shooting and I'm worried. Like this needs to be like a constant upkeep and something you guys really want to participate in your time going forward.
Right. Yeah, I was really happy that Virgil was a part of it,
I know.
because he's been so distant these past few episodes when you
Yeah.
learn about his history with football and things like that. So I was happy to see him contribute. I guess he feels like, yeah, I would love to see this happen, but I'm busy and I have to run my business and my kids grow up in this town. So I would love to see it happen, but maybe I can try and help in some sense.
Yeah.
So it
And
was
so,
nice.
yeah, and while they're there, Buddy suggests a football game, like a friendly football game of the Lions versus the kids at the park. And they all think this is
Weird.
a great idea.
This is weird.
Well, it's like everybody loves football. So
It's
let's
like,
just,
but why couldn't they split up the teams?
what do
Like,
you
we didn't
mean?
have to have, like, the Lions versus these new kids. We could have, like, I don't know, it felt like it was, like, very much like, "These are the Lions, and these are the outsiders." I feel like if we mix it up if it was a friendly game, why couldn't we have mixed up the players?
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. Because it was a bye week and coach says to the team, like, I don't care if you go or not, like this is voluntary. We're just
Yeah.
going to have some fun. Maybe they did it so it's like I don't know. Like you guys can be to yourselves. You guys introduce them to the Lions. But also Vince is like used to hanging out with his friends at the park too.
Mhm.
He knows
Yeah.
these guys. Anyway, so we get to game night and coach is having the lights turn on. And so he asks Eldon, like, hey, do you have any expertise on like breaking into something?
Mm.
So they jump a fence, they break the padlock, they switch the lights on, and the boys have a fun game.
Yeah. They performed well, and I think
They did.
the town was surprised to see how much they're starting to really be a team together.
Yes. Yeah.
And there was a lot of I'm sure we'll get to it, a lot of, like, Vince on the other side in this episode, so it was
Yep.
interesting to see how he is trying to be something and do better, and then he's getting smacked in the face with, like, all of his history and past.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we can go right into Vince. We see that him in this episode, we open up, he's trying to get a job and he's facing all these obstacles because he's filling out applications and they ask if you've been arrested before and he's not lying about it. And so he
No.
circles yes, but every job is starting to think twice about him. And so he reaches out to coach asking like, "Hey, would you vouch for me? Would you think of me if you think of any jobs or can I put you down as a reference?" And coach is like, "Yeah, I will do that for you." And ends up getting him a job at Ray's barbecue.
Yeah, he thought that this was he's like, "Oh, I" you could just tell on the coach's face, like, "Yes, I'm really proud of you for
Yep.
doing this." What's this Big Mary's thing?
I
Is that what
think
the barbecue place is called? It's not.
it's
It's called
called it's
Ray's.
called Ray's barbecue. He's Virgil Merriweather. I think they call him Big Mary as a nickname.
Merriweather. Okay, did
Yes.
not understand that. That makes sense now.
Yeah. And this will continue going forward. They keep calling him Big Mary.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, like you said, Vince is like super hesitant about this job. Also, because we keep slowly learning more and more about Vince and the Merryweather's weather the Merryweather's relationship. I mean,
Mhm.
last time we saw Vince had Jess over for dinner
Yeah.
and his mom idolizes her.
Right. And it was like seemed to be cordial.
Right?
And
It
now she's
was.
like, I want no part of him. But I'm just very lost and confused. I feel like I missed an episode, I missed a chunk.
You mean
Something is
between
not
them?
adding up. Yeah, something's not adding up for me. I'm
I
just
think
confused by it.
Yeah, I think it's this Vince is very much trying to stay on the right track, especially now that he's working for Virgil, right? And Virgil
Yeah.
like sets like strict rules. You're getting minimum wage, you're going to show up what you're going to do, you're not going to flirt with the girls, you're not going to, joke around with the guys and also stay away from my daughter.
Right. And I think him seeing Landry,
Oh yeah.
the really good guy, be with Jess, he's like, well, of course she's with him. Like, he's a good guy. I'm not. Like, he knows. And I'm sure deep down, like, that self pity of, I am someone who has a past and I'm trying to be better, but ultimately you feel like you probably can't get there because you'll never, like, live up to what you think you can. And then seeing Landry step in, like, yeah, okay, of course, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, and Landry and Jess's relationship seems to be heating up. They share this
Mhm.
really cute moment in the car. He's going over there after her shifts to close with her. And then at the football game, Landry just goes up to Vince and like it tries to explain himself like, let's just get this out in the open. I know you guys have a past. If you're going to hit me, hit me.
Oh,
And
Landry.
I know, right? And then Vince kind of just like looks him up and down and taps him on the shoulder and is just like, respect, you know?
Yeah, he's just like,
I
"All
don't
right." It's not my time right now to do anything about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from what I gather, and I know it obviously hasn't been said, you know, it seems like they had once, maybe as kids, liked each other, and then they both kept on their paths but went separate ways. And then she saw that he was hanging out with the wrong crowd, getting himself into trouble. And while she's probably still attracted to him and knows deep down inside he is a good person, she won't allow herself to go there. And also, we've seen the way he has spoken to her in the past, so she probably doesn't respect that at all. But it does seem like she looks back, she stares at him for a while. It's like, oh, this is so awkward. It's like, just say something at this point. But I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
get there.
Well, I'm curious when we first saw like the interactions between Vince and Jess at that party, and we were like, ew, like what he said to her. I don't remember the
Mhm.
exact words, but we were both like really
Same.
we were
He
both
was
turned
like,
off by it.
"Oh," something like, you want a piece," or, like, something like that.
Yeah. And I wonder if at the time when the writers were writing that they didn't really develop of what they would become, because
Mhm.
it seems like now, not to say Vince wouldn't say that, but their relationship just seems more deeper than that. There's more
Yeah.
of a deeper history than just this I'm an asshole to you.
Right, it seems like they had this bond, kind of like
Yeah.
this, like, deep connection, but it at some parts, it seems like she's almost afraid of him, but then sometimes she's not. Like, she just seems like when she's around him, she's uneasy. But I'm having a hard time reading that as, is she uneasy or is she just uncomfortable because she knows there's something there?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
I know, and I foresee, as I predicted, I'm sure we'll get to it with questions and and things like that, but yeah, I can see this being a real problem for my Landry.
Yeah. The last point I just want to add about Vince and his storyline is when his buddies show up. Well, not really his buddies. It's like Calvin and his new friend group shows up to the job
Right.
demanding free food, causing a ruckus. And Virgil comes out and shuts it down. And I'm just like really proud of Vince and the way he acted in this scenario. Like he did
Yeah, and
not react.
I love that Virgil said, "You're above it. You're
Yep.
moving on. You're better than them." And Vince is like, "I'm not."
Yeah.
And he's like, "But you're here and you're making a difference in your life."
Yeah.
So I hope that that continues and Vince sees, like, yes, how good you can be.
Yeah. I know. Uh, Becky finds out that she's pregnant from her one night stand with Luke. As we said, we're very happy it's not Tim's.
N- I mean, but
I
my
mean, I'm
Luke.
heartbroken. I mean, I'm not saying like I'm happy she's pregnant, and
No.
she's being very standoffish with Tim. And Tim thinks it's because of the kiss they shared, and he apologizes to her. And Becky breaks down and tells Tim, "Listen, I'm pregnant, and also I'm very upset with the fact that you said you regret that kiss because I don't regret
Mm.
that.
Yeah, that was hurtful.
It was
He
hurtful."
he knows that has such a thing for him.
Yeah,
That, I mean, obviously, he probably shouldn't have kissed her at all, which is a whole different entity, but just saying that when you know that this girl does have feelings for you, that is really hurtful.
I
And he's like,
know.
"I just didn't know what to say because I thought that's what you wanted me to say." Like,
Such a
typical Tim.
typical answer. I know.
So hearing that on top of you finding out some humongous thing about the thing that will change your life forever, regardless if it's an abortion or not, it's still that whole huge decision that you have to make. And just like on top of that, Tim being like, bet nothing.
Yeah, I mean, but
Painful.
obviously we see like Tim's not giving up. He's trying to be there for her. He tries multiple times throughout the day, like, and probably
Yeah.
over the course of days, like, why aren't you answering me? I don't want to be like this. Like, why is it
Hmm.
so awkward thinking it's all his fault? It's all his fault. At this point, before we see her talk to Luke, did you think it was Tim's?
No.
So
I,
you
kn-
you
I
knew.
just, I was very, very positive that it wasn't. Obviously, it could have went anyway, but I was just like, no, I just don't see that. And they do not tell you, I guess, as on purpose, what has happened between her and Luke and what has happened between her and Tim. And
Yeah.
then towards the end, well, even before that, she does go to Luke, "It is yours." And it could have been a whole different scenario too of like she tells Luke it's his and it's not his, or she goes, I thought she was gonna say I'm pregnant to Tim and it's yours, like try and trap him, something,
Ooh.
But
Ooh.
again, this is not our typical teen drama.
This isn't One Tree Hill.
I'm always on edge when it comes to teen pregnancies and things.
I hear you.
So I just was like, I know it's not that type of show. It's not Tim's baby. I'm like, we did this with Jason. Not that it's the same scenario, but
With Erin?
Jason and Aaron, they, had an oopsie and decided to keep it. And, that's what he wanted for his life. And while Tim does want to have children, he's reiterated that a few times. It's just not now. Not now.
Yeah. How did you think and what did you think about the way Luke responded? He's so
Typical
sweet.
Luke. I didn't I didn't see it going any other way than that. That's just Luke's character. He was like, I just want you to be happy and you to be safe and for you to fully think this through and not to rush the situation. And he is putting it on her, but also being like, hey, like, I don't want to be a dad yet, but also it's something weird about me potentially having a child out there. So I don't know how I feel about it. I feel really uneasy about it.
Yeah.
So he is voicing his opinion, but not in a way where he's pushing it on her. And that's just exactly how I pictured Luke to do it.
Yeah. It's
And I'm
very
sure we'll get
sweet.
lots and lots of questions about what I think is going to happen. So I
Yeah.
will wait until our pal Mollie gets here.
Yes. Patron Mollie is joining us for the second half of the show. I'm very excited to talk to her about this. Glenn, this storyline's still going on, but this is the end. I do promise
Okay,
you, but we
good.
do have to talk about it. He comes to East Dillon. He feels it inside of him. He has to apologize to Eric for kissing Tami. And Tami didn't tell Eric because one, this isn't a big deal, and two, they haven't really been able to connect.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so I do, however, enjoy, and I find it very comedic in the scene where he is explaining to Coach, and you see Coach boiling and being like, okay, what else am I going to say?
He's like, "You're okay with it?" And he's like, "Well, no, but I really have nothing else."
And
So
also, you'll be seeing me. Very funny. And so
it
then
was.
Eric brings it up to Tami and they're in bed and they're talking about it. And I'm glad that this really didn't go anywhere. They laugh it off. Coach is like, great, by proxy, now I've kissed Glenn. Are you kidding? And she's just like, did you hit him? And he's like, why are you worried about him?
Yeah.
It was
I
funny.
I liked it. I really
I did too.
appreciated their
Yeah.
banter
Yeah.
of being mature adults. And like, well, I feel bad for Glenn that they're laughing at it. It's like, hey, at least they can laugh at it and move on. They're both comfortable in their marriage. But also like, it's kind of like a light bulb. We don't really know what's happening in each other's lives. We should fix that. And then I'm sure we'll talk about Katie and Joe McCoy and how that's another light bulb of like how we should talk and we going to get divorced? Like I don't know what's going
Mhm.
to happen. And so I get the device. I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Still had to use the Glenn situation in this episode
Yeah.
for it all.
And I feel like they added in the Joe and Katie thing just for this, just so we see Tami and Eric needing to nurture their marriage
Yeah.
because
Because
that's
we
it.
haven't seen her in episodes like since the start of the season, since
Yep.
basically him and JD and her had that whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it was kind of like, oh, let's give the audience just like kind of a summary of what happened there because clearly I don't see Katie coming back onto the show
No.
and the use of that device to draw, show Coach and Tami this could be us.
Yeah. And I'm glad that they get their little cute date. They exchange I love yous near a lake and discuss
Yeah.
their first date. Very
Yes,
sweet.
very cute.
Yeah. Julie, she signed up for Habitat for Humanity via Tami. And she ends up really enjoying herself. She has a little crush on Ryan, who is a part of the project. And Julie shares her honesty about how she just got out of a relationship. I'm not ready to go to lunch with you, but hey, if you want to make out, no strings attached, I'm down.
Yeah.
Listen, I give
I
Julie credit.
was
I give her credit.
same. I was surprised, but also I'm like, well, it's Julie.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
She's very forward
Hmm.
generally. So yeah, you go, girl. Also didn't see that coming. So I mean, I did when we saw him. I was like, oh, maybe they'll just like each other. Maybe we'll develop this a little bit. Obviously, he does seem like a rebound.
Hmm.
Unfortunately for him, because he didn't seem like he just wanted to hook up and he was okay with just hooking up for now. We'll see if that
But like,
changes.
what guy is gonna say no?
I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like this pretty girl's like, hey, could we get food and like hook up as well? Like no strings attached. Like what dude's gonna be like, actually, no, I can't do that.
I know. That's true. And I guess at that point in my life, if that was a I'm trying to think of like approached on the other end, if like I asked a guy out
Hmm.
and they said, "Hey, like I'm not really ready for anything." Oh God, forget it. It's like the typical. It's so biased. I'm like,
It
my
is.
opinion is so biased. So
I
I
know.
like the device we did here, but I'm
Yeah.
also like, if it was the other way around, it would have been icky.
If the guy did it.
Yeah,
Oh, for
like
sure.
it's such a double standard there,
It really is true because here we are.
which
We're
is
like, yes,
bullshit.
Julie, like you owning your sexuality and knowing what you want, and this is your boundary. This is what you want. And like if a
Yeah.
guy did it, we'd be like, ew.
I know. But then again, like props yeah, right. Like props to him for being honest that
Yeah,
he's heartbroken still, but also just kind of wants a distraction.
yeah.
But also, if you were a girl that heard that, you would be like, fuck this guy.
I know it's so true.
I'm sorry, world. I do not mean to be like that, but like that's the reality of it. And it's fucked up. And I wish I thought differently about it.
Yeah, I think it just depends. I know if I probably heard that, or maybe I could also see myself like being so young and being like, yeah, that's okay, and then like fully falling and then
Oh,
being like, shit,
absolutely.
right?
And
Like,
like,
you got it,
a-
dude. I'm
and I
not
kind of
okay.
see it maybe happening in this scenario because it seems like I was just gonna call him Matt. It seems like Ryan
Hmm.
really kind of wanted to go there with maybe dating or seeing where this was going. And this kind of like yes her into doing it. And I'm
Yeah,
interested to see if he'll develop feelings for Julie, you know? Would be
yeah.
cute. They're a cute little Aryan couple, so
I mean, I just Matt Barr, he's adorable
that's so
and
cute.
sweet, but also all I see is Psycho Derek.
I know.
I'm like, oh, he's creepy. What's he
I
gonna do?
know.
And he's
I
been in
know
so many other things, and
so much.
still, I'm like,
I know.
Psycho Derek, One Tree Hill.
I know because we were scarred. That was the first
It
I don't
wasn't
think
though.
it wasn't
He was
though.
in the OC.
Yeah.
I just didn't. He wasn't a creep. You
He
know what I'm
wasn't.
saying? We remember
Mhm.
him because he played an awful character.
Yeah.
It's
So,
very funny.
he's very memorable.
He is, yeah. But that's the summary for our episode. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to have our Total Betty patron, Mollie, join us. Back from
Yay.
break, we're joined by our Total Betty patron, Mollie. Hi, Mollie. How are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm good. I'm so excited to be talking about FNL. Ooh,
I
ooh.
know. And last time we spoke to you, you were on We Are Liars, which was, I mean, you were just like a wealth of knowledge and a bundle of joy. So we
Oh
really
my gosh.
appreciated that.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that's so nice of you. Yeah, I'm like a podcast rookie, so I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah,
You
hell
guys
yeah.
make it easy. So,
Oh, well,
Oh,
thank you.
good.
Okay, well, before we get into questions and comments and all of the things, tell us about your Friday Night's journey.
I mean, I'm on it for the first time ever. So I'm
Yay.
loving it. I have cheated and kind of like moved ahead of the podcast because I'm watching it with my partner, Tyler. If you listen to We Are Liars, you've kind of heard about Tyler a little bit, but he's like a full-on fan now and had never watched it before either. And so he's like not patient enough to like
Mm.
wait. So we are in season 5 currently, so I won't do any spoilers, but
Whoa. Are you liking
yes.
Wow.
season 5?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we're like at like episode, I don't know, like 9 or something.
Oh
And
my
so
god,
like
you're so close.
we're getting really close to the end. And so honestly, like this is so embarrassing, but I like to watch things while I cook, like things that I've already like seen or like don't feel like I have to pay that much attention to.
Yeah.
And I've just
Totally.
started it over while I cook.
Oh.
because it's just like familiar, and like I'm sad that we've gone through it because we binged to catch up with you guys, and so it's like gone really quickly. And so I'm like sad that it's almost over. So I've like honestly just kind of started it over and
Like you
have it on
started the
in the
series
background.
over or season 5
Yes,
over?
no, the whole thing.
Wow. So how are you liking like such a close rewatch, essentially? Is it better the second time? Are you appreciating it in the
I
background
mean,
as you cook?
yes, yeah. I mean, I'm not paying as much attention, I would
Right.
say, but like it is like kind of whiplash, right? Because you're like towards the end of the show and then you go back to the beginning and you're like, whoa, 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 hold on. Like, you know what I mean? Because you kind of forget where you are. So,
Of
but
course.
anyway, I don't do it like every time I make dinner, but every once in a while, like I'll turn it on and watch it while I'm cooking. And anyway, so I just love it. And so yeah, so I love it. It's like probably gonna be like on the top of my show list from here on out.
Nice.
My sister has watched it too and encouraged me to watch it because we grew up in relatively small town in Kansas, and it was very football centric. Like our high school football team was really successful for, I mean, a lot of the time I was in high school, and there's a D2 college in my hometown too, and they were really successful at the time, like when I was in high school and all that stuff too. So it's just a big like football town. And so there's a lot, like I feel like watching it, I like know people in the show. It's like I'm not from Texas, it's not exactly the same, but I feel like there's a lot where it's like, oh my gosh, I know that person. Like,
Right. It's
Yeah.
like familiar. You're like, oh, that
yeah,
seems like that would
yeah,
be accurate.
yeah,
Yeah.
like for better or worse in some cases, right? But like you're like, oh, I know, like I knew that player, or like I knew that parent or whatever. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of like fun and nostalgic. And I graduated high school in 2010, and so I'm like a little bit younger than these kids, but like close enough that it's like, it
Yeah.
feels very like my high school
Yeah.
situation. So
Wow. What did you think
yeah.
about this episode? Do you have any questions or comments, which I'm sure you do?
Yeah, I wrote, as with, normally I wrote everything
I love
down
it in the little notebook.
in my little notebook. Well, I really liked the episode. I like struggled to, we'll get to it, but like I struggled to get to like a shittiest. Like my
Yeah, same.
shittiest was like a huge reach.
Yeah, everyone,
Um,
no one had shittiest who wrote
Yeah.
in. We were all like Vince's friends.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I know. I thought about them at one point. I was like, them. I mean, they're being kind of like shitheads, but like
Yeah.
also, they're not like shitty people per se. But
Right.
anyway, so yeah, I really liked the episode. I have like, so just kind of going into thoughts. So like I kind of had forgotten because we are in season 5. We went back to watch this, and I was kind of reminded of like how much in season 4 we get introduced to that like is supposed to be in Dillon that we just never knew about before. We like did the whole East West situation. So, and like a lot of this is about Carroll Park. And so I was like, was Carroll Park there? Is this new? Is this like in a like outside of Dillon? Like where are we at? I was like having that moment where I was like, I really enjoy season 4 and 5. Like I think that's rare for a show to be able to come in like with a whole new like slew of people you're supposed to care about.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they did it really well and I really enjoy it. But then I'm like, hold on though, because like the entire landscape of Dillon, I feel like has changed.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a
they
bit
just created
confusing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, because like seasons 1 through 3, it's like very rural, and you have a lot of like driving on gravel roads and trucks and fields, and you still have that, but then it like there's all this like really kind of inner city feel too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't dislike it. I just was like, I was kind of reminded of like, wait a minute, hold on. I forgot that this was all in Dillon. Like we haven't moved.
Yeah.
Right. Right. We were just introduced to the east part.
Right. And so then I'm
Yeah.
like, so that were they all going to just Dillon, like what is now West Dillon?
Yeah, I remember we were talking about this when the divide happened and
Right. I'm
Kilroy,
sure you've
right?
already talked about
Not
all this,
the
but
Isn't that the other they were talked about like the dividing line, and
Mm-hmm.
because we were confused about it too, like wouldn't they know these kids?
right.
I think they went to a different high school. I think it was I still honestly
I know. I wish
I
someone
don't
would know.
know.
I wish someone knew.
Like
I
write in
know.
and clarify it for us.
Because it seemed like the way they set it up is like, okay, we're going to get more funding from the state if we
Right.
like split and then reopen this other school. So then that makes me think like, well, there wasn't a line and everyone that lived in Dillon went to
Right.
Dillon.
Right.
So
That's
then
what it
it's
seems.
like you would have known. Obviously, that's not how like TV making works. Like, you know, you don't just have Michael B. Jordan like floating around as an extra and then you like cast him. You know, I obviously know that's not how it works, you know. But anyway, it's just like an interesting, like you get introduced to, like Carroll Park and like obviously we've known about Ray's like the whole season, but that's like a new place too. And it's
Mhm.
just, I don't know, one
I
of
know
those things.
it's true. I mean,
Right.
we don't go to Alamo Freeze anymore.
Right.
Dillon Pizza once, or Panther Pizza,
Mm-hmm.
where Maddie worked.
We're
I mean,
not,
those two
yeah.
established. Now everything's just Ray's Barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No more
Mm-hmm.
Applebee's. We haven't been to Applebee's in so long.
No.
I know. I mean, go local, right? Like Ray's
Right.
over
Well,
Applebee's anyway.
obviously. Yes,
Right.
yes. And maybe it's
Whereas,
because we're not associating with Panther Lifestyle, right? Like Panther Lifestyle was Applebee's.
mm,
That's where the
mm-hmm.
Right.
Ray's hung out. Now it's like, no, our Lion Boosters, we go to Ray's. So
We go to
it's
Ray's.
just
Yeah.
Right. We're just
That's a
seeing
good point.
the
Yeah.
east side of
That's right.
town.
The east side of town.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's totally valid. I think that's, yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, Kansas, like I live in Kansas City. We're like a big barbecue town, obviously. I'm a vegetarian, so I don't really have like a
Yeah,
stake in the
same.
game.
Mhm.
But like I think that like Texas versus like Kansas City barbecue is kind of a thing. Like Kansas Cityans are
Yes.
like, we're actually the barbecue like capital of the nation, and
Yeah.
Texas is like, no, we are. So there's like a
Uh-huh.
bit of a battle. But it's funny, we have a local barbecue. I mean, we have a ton of local barbecue here, but there's like a kind of more hole in the wall, like just family owned place called LC's. And it's like not in like a main area of town. Like you kind of have to, you know, go, like if you were to come to Kansas City, it wouldn't be like in your route of like going to see places
Right.
that you would do as a tourist. And it's just like very Ray's, like it LC, like our LC's is Ray's. So it's just fun. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's
Aw.
LC's and it's Tyler's favorite barbecue spot. So
Does
every
your
time we're at Ray's,
barbecue place have jackfruit?
not LC's, but we do have barbecue spots in the city that have jackfruit. Because then I
There's a
saw you guys talking about that on Discord.
Yes.
More progressive in the city, you know.
There's a barbecue place close to me that has become my favorite meal, my absolute favorite meal, and it's the barbecue with jackfruit and cornbread.
What place is this?
It's Big Belly Q in Smithtown.
It's like on Main Street?
No, it's like past the bowl, past the holistic center for youthful living. And it's like a little
Okay.
hole I mean, it's tiny and it's
Huh.
in a shopping center, but it's so small. And it's just my favorite. And the guy, my Anthony and his friends got it tonight, and I almost got it, but I didn't want to wait because they eat late.
Yeah.
It is so good. I love
Yeah, I
it.
can go for that right now.
It's
Yes.
delicious.
I feel like as a vegetarian, like my sister's this way too. She's also vegetarian. I'm like I love the flavor of barbecue sauce.
same.
Like, but you don't get to have it like ever.
No.
So we
No.
have spots locally here that do have jackfruit, or like we have a local spot that's called Oklahoma Joe's. I guess Kansas City Joe's now, but nobody calls it that. And they do like a portobello, like Z-Man is like their signature sandwich. So anyway, so LC's, which is like our Ray's, doesn't, but maybe someday they will.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Shout out to Elsie. I've been to Kansas City once. It like as you were talking, I'm like, wait a minute. I went there for a work
Really?
trip in 2020.
Oh, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That's so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I didn't have
Did you get barbecue while you were here?
No, it was more of like a sponsor. I went with my boss at the time, and it was like a sponsored work trip. So you were just like shuffled from place to place,
Yeah,
and they fed
yeah,
you.
yeah, sure. I get it.
But do you have any specific questions? Lots of people sent in questions, but I wanted to start
Oh
with
my gosh,
yours
okay.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, so when was the last time you filled out a paper application? I was like, whoa, throwback.
I feel like the only time I fill out paper applications is when I go to the doctor. And what I don't understand, and maybe Liz can fill us in because Liz works for an eye doctor. Why do you have to fill out the forms beforehand online, and then when you get there, you have to actually fill them out again?
I mean, we don't even have paper forms anymore. We just have people do everything electronic because we're supposed to be paperless. However, people still try and do their due diligence and print out the papers and then fill them out. And then I'm like, I don't actually need them now. But that's just us. So I don't know why they do that. And then every year you're supposed to sign like your consents, like your HIPAA and all that. Like you're supposed to do that every year, and people get annoyed. And I'm like, well, you gotta do
Yeah.
this again. You gotta consent again. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
annoying. Paperwork is
Yeah.
just annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, I work for a profit health center here in Kansas City, and I'm not clinical in any way, but yeah, like there's that yearly stuff. You just have to do it. But yeah, I mean, we're moving to more digital stuff, but like I mean, we still work in paperwork a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I just did. I mean, when I go to like the DMV, like I just had to redo my registration. You have to like fill out, you have to print it and fill it out and take it with you. Like it's so silly.
Crazy.
So I guess I just done that, but I haven't I mean, I haven't applied for a job in a while either, but I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. Like the last time I filled out a paper job application was like when I worked at the pool in my hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
I-
even remember. I think
Same.
maybe like Gap Kids when I was in
Yes.
college.
I think
Like
honestly
Yes.
so
mine
long
was
ago.
probably Cold Stone, which was like what, 08 or something like that.
Right.
So it's been
Yeah.
a while. Wait, so you can't do your registration online?
No, not in Missouri.
Wow.
Missouri is great. I mean, I like where I live, but don't move to Missouri. The like DMV situation is wild.
Yeah, I
So
haven't stepped foot in a DMV in a long time, and actually very soon I probably will when I change my name legally, but I'm like, oh, I don't want
yes.
to. I
Yes.
really
I
don't.
actually was at the DMV today and there was a woman that came in and was like, "Hey, I need to change all my stuff because I just got married." I was like,
Yep.
"Girl, good
Nightmare of
luck."
mine, actually. But
Yeah. Good
anyway.
luck. You'll be fine. It's all worth it.
Exactly.
Oh, and also, so I was telling Tyler yesterday when we watched it, I was like, as a young person, I remember like watching media and it always being this huge thing, like with teen pregnancy and like talking about abortion costs and all those things. And like as a like younger person, like I never personally had to like actually go down that road fully, but like I remember like that being kind of a fear of like, oh my God, like they're so expensive. I'll never. And then you're like an adult and you're like watching these kids talk about, I need you to give me $150 because I can't, whatever. And I was like, oh my God. Like I know that that's a lot of money as a kid, and it's still a lot of money. I'm not saying that, but it's just so funny. Like
Yeah.
looking back in those scenes as an adult, like those scenes just hit so
Differently.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
perspective, the scope of it is.
And she is not gonna tell her mother. So it's
Oh,
We'll
not
see.
like, well, not yet at least, but I guess if they did have a closer relationship, she could have said, "Hey mom, I need the money," or like, "This is
yeah.
my
This is,
situation."
yeah.
But yeah, $300 to a 16-year-old, that seems like a lot of dough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like honestly, like I would be in her position, like I probably wouldn't have told my parents either. Like I probably would have tried to do it
Oh,
like
Yep.
under the radar. And like I had jobs, but like my parents watched my bank account. So like I could have taken out that money, but then they would have been like, what did you take out
Right.
$150 for? Like, what did you need that for? You
Right.
know?
right.
Like
You would need
such a
Yep.
cash under the table.
yes.
Yeah.
Like so crazy. So we
Yeah.
were talking about that yesterday and Tyler was like, yeah, I mean, like you could afford that now, but like you also could raise a child now. So it's like crazy how hard it is to get for people who like need it the
Mm-hmm.
most.
Mhm.
And like which
Mhm.
is hits home for me. Like we just had this whole, we're like a, Kansas, Missouri, the whole thing. Just
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
anyway, so it's all very
Yeah.
like feels very relevant in the Midwest right now. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
but anyway, it's so funny. Like looking back, it shows that you were, I didn't watch at the time, but like you would have been watching at their age. And then
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like 30 watching this show.
Yeah.
It's just so different. So
Yes, it is.
and then I thought you guys would appreciate my like Lorelai call out. So Tami walks in with like her wrap dress and I was like, oh my gosh, so Lorelai right now. Can we even? I mean,
Yeah.
she looked great, first of all,
Yeah.
but
She's such
I
a
was like,
babe. She could rock
ah,
anything, but I
oh,
love
I
that.
know. Yes, and she is such a babe. And Tyler, like every time we watch an episode or like talk about Friday Night Lights, like he's like, Tammy Taylor's my hall pass. Like every time. I'm like, I know.
Same.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah.
I'm like,
She's all
yes,
of our hall
her
passes.
coach, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't I'm
Yeah.
down.
And
Yeah.
like
But
Connie
yes.
Britton does not age. Like today, she still looks exactly like that.
No,
So
it's
beautiful.
great. Yes.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, he like reminds me every time we watch an episode. He's like, God, Tammy Taylor. I was like, but he's like specifically Tammy Taylor. Like,
I get it. I get it.
Same.
like,
I
you know,
get it.
obviously Connie Britton is gorgeous, but he's like Tammy Taylor specifically.
Yeah.
But yes. I mean, everything else is kind of like, whatever. I didn't know that Tinker's name was Dallas. That's what I wrote down. I was like, oh, he
Nope.
has a first name.
Hmm.
Yeah. Not
So,
just Tinker.
yeah.
No idea who they were talking about for like 5 minutes.
Oh, I know. Same. I was like, so I literally wrote down Tinker's name is Dallas.
See, I was like, Dallas question mark?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh wait, never mind. They answered it. But
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they called him Tinkerbell. Oh my God.
Tinker, I know, I
know.
love that.
I know.
It cracked me up.
He's one of my fave characters of the later seasons. So
Good to know.
I love a Tinker reference.
Same. All right, let's go into some questions
Yeah.
from our listeners. We'll start with Mike. He asked, do you think Katie and Joe's split was meant to happen story-wise, or do you think they just couldn't get the actor? I personally don't know. I don't know, obviously Liz doesn't know you're a newbie. I don't know if you did research on that, Mollie, since you were ahead. I said, and earlier we talked about this when we were going over the episode, I think it was just thrown in there as a device to show that the Taylors need nurturing in their relationship.
Yeah, I think it was
Oh,
both.
yeah.
You know, like, okay, Katie hasn't been around. Maybe we couldn't get the actor. Maybe not, but let's just sum it up here.
Right.
Mhm.
And we're not focused on the McCoys anymore. So
No, God,
there's
I
no
hope
need.
I hope it's like
Yeah.
by
Right.
season 4 they're out of here. End of season
Right.
4.
I know.
Yeah.
They were so unlikable. And like I'm fine with
Yeah.
having unlikable people in my shows, but I just like, ooh, they really ground my gears. Whatever the saying is. Yeah, I think you're probably right, Michelle. Like it's like a device of like, she's like, hey, did you know they were getting a split? And she's like feeling distant and all those things. So, I mean, that's why like writers, showrunners and writers get paid money because they're like good at doing those like A/B situations. But
Yeah.
I also feel like, I don't know, like it did feel kind of, I guess like out of context. Maybe there was something else, like the episode prior. I hadn't watched that season or episode 8, excuse me, since you guys did it, a couple weeks back. And so maybe it just feels out of context for me, but I was also kind of like, why are we even talking to him? Like, what? I don't
I
understand.
know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, the
Like the
same thing.
scene just felt really like, wait, what's this?
Yeah. I mean, to go off of that, and this is actually, if works well with Mike's next question of should Tami have told Coach that Glenn tried to kiss her? Like, do you think we also needed that device? Like, did we need Glenn to come back to say to Coach, like, hey, I kissed Tami, you didn't know?
Nope.
Like, did you think that was necessary? So
we didn't need both.
We didn't need
just
both.
one would have been
Right.
fine.
Yeah, which like the kiss thing probably for me at least felt more relevant because it was like a bigger thing. Like just randomly bringing in Joe to be like, also he kind of used that manipulatively, like to try and get JD out of trouble. I feel like
He
well,
sure did.
Like, of course, you're just such a I just hate him.
Dick.
But I agree, you probably don't need both. And for me, the kiss thing felt more relevant, and also like I super enjoyed watching Coach respond to Glenn, like the laugh manically and like the scratch of the head, like with I was like, oh my God, he's acting the heck out of this. I just thought it was hilarious. So I would probably prefer that over the Joe scene in terms of like the device we needed. But yeah, we probably didn't need both.
Do you think that Tami should have told him?
I mean, I would have said something just because like I would like have struggled to keep that like to myself. But also Coach is like a hothead. So I think that like if she would have come home that night and told him, like, he would have gone in his truck and like driven over and like, punched Glenn in the face. So,
Yeah.
he is like a hothead. So I don't know. She honestly was probably not telling him more out of like preservation of Glenn than even out of her own like relationship.
Oh, for sure. I
Because
mean, she says like, "Oh no, did you hit him?"
yeah,
It's like,
like she was like
why do you care
concerned
about
about
him? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like I'm sure her whole life she's had to deal with like people hitting on her doing things because she's so,
Yeah.
amazing and gorgeous and all of those things. But so, poor woman like having to deal with those things. But yeah, I feel like she probably didn't say it out of preservation of Glenn more than anything else. And
Yeah.
just knowing like, it was a mistake or whatever. Now if Glenn were to do something again, I feel like she would have had to say something like,
Right.
hey,
Like
I just
it's
need you to know.
continuing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you need to know this has happened and, I'm handling it, but like, there's an issue.
Yeah.
So luckily Glenn like took the
He,
message.
yeah. Yeah. He got the
Mhm. And he was
answer.
so scared.
I mean,
He
I
was
would
so
be
nervous.
too.
Yeah.
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 He's cute. I mean, he shouldn't have kissed her, but Glenn's cute.
Yeah. Psycho Derek, who is who we know him from One Tree Hill. He's Ryan in this episode, played by Matt Barr. But Mike says Psycho Derek in another teen drama. That makes 3. Which of his portrayals have you liked the best? How long do you think he'll be around for? Jacqueline also wants to know, like, how long do you think Ryan's going to be here for?
Not even to the end of the season.
Okay.
We're on episode 9. We have 3 more ish. Hey, you know what? Let's give it to the end of the season.
Okay.
And I think by then they'll both have decided like we knew it was what it was, and now we're done with it.
Yeah.
Because she's gonna go to college.
And he works for Habitat for Humanity, right?
Right.
So that travels around.
Right. How old is he? Could be a cringe situation again, but okay.
I know, because it's like it's not clear whether he's like in college or has graduated college or didn't.
Right.
I mean, obviously not going to college is an option, but
right,
yeah,
college
it's not,
age.
Yeah, college aged or maybe even like recently graduated. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not watched him in
purposely do
anything
that.
else.
Oh,
but
right. Yeah, so you don't know him as anything else except for Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's like not my type anyway, so I'm kind of like whatever about him.
Yeah.
But I also like, I mean, he didn't do anything wrong, but I also even considered him for my shittiest because he was like, let's go to lunch. And then she's like, do you want a kiss? And he's like, yeah, totally. Like, oh, come on. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. She asked. It wasn't like he did anything creepy, but
right. It was
just
like consensual. She started the conversation, but I totally get what your head's at with that.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you didn't actually want to get lunch. You
were
wanted to
hoping
get
for something
closer
else.
to her.
That's true.
Yeah.
Maybe okay, so that's another way of looking at it. So we obviously prior discussed this, and while we were proud of Julie, I said if it was reversed, we would have been like, fuck this guy. All he wants to do is hook up. But maybe you're right in the sense of, hey, you want to get some lunch, hoping it will lead somewhere.
Right. And he obviously
somewhere.
like did it more like the nicer way to do it is like, hey, let's get to know each other. So like
right.
he's not actually shitty. I just was like, I don't know. Tyler and I also were like anti-Julie, which is maybe not like, I don't know, like common feeling, but we're just like very anti-Julie.
No,
like,
that is a common thing. Julie is not well liked across the Friday Night Lights fandom.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's like probably like a pretty good portrayal of a teenager, right? But like as a result, I'm like, don't like you.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of her plot lines, like I'm just like, whatever, don't care. Like, so Ryan didn't stand a chance with me because he's just tied to Julie.
Yeah. I don't really feel as though I necessarily care about this situation either. Like it doesn't affect me either way what happens with it. I mean, Julie is not my favorite either, but I feel like her storylines that don't revolve around Matt are like not so great, I
Yeah, like,
guess.
yeah, I agree. I'm like kind of wondering. I mean, obviously she's coaching Tammy's kids, so she has to be there. Like she hasn't graduated. She has to stick
Right.
around because we know that they're still there. So she has to be somewhere. But I'm also kind of like, I don't really understand the point of this storyline. Like, honestly, this is gonna sound so bad and gross because we were just saying like the age thing is weird. But honestly, like it would have been more interesting if like it wouldn't have been so like normal and consensual and whatever. Like do something like make it steamier or something so
Mm-hmm.
that we can like
Mm.
I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Or just don't have
Yeah.
it. I don't know. One of the two.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just to get her to the next of let's see her rebound and get over Matt.
Yeah.
And we still have to deal with Matt at some point.
Of course we
So, yeah.
do. I feel like, and this is nothing against Julie as a person, but the fact that this guy, Ryan, who I'm sure has built lots and lots of homes with other people, of course, is like, that girl's cute. Like, of course, like for story purpose, it's Julie. That's the cute one. Like, it could have been anyone
Mm-hmm.
there, but of course it was Julie. So it was like a little predictable and frustrating that like that's what we do next with her in a way. A
Yeah. I
great. Just a
mean,
little great.
yeah, and I obviously like watched a little bit past and so I know some of the things to come. But and like Tyler said this when we were watching it last night as well. It's like Julie doesn't have a storyline that doesn't involve a guy.
Right.
At least
Right.
that I can
Since the
remember.
beginning.
Like she goes to the like gay bar with Devin. Like, cool, let's go somewhere, like
Right.
let's make them friends. And like when she
Friendship.
was like friends with Tyra, like I guess that's a plot. Like I'm not giving credit, but like I loved that friendship. I was like, oh, I like Julie because she's giving Tyra a chance, like because I
Mm-hmm.
love Tyra. So I don't know. I'm just like, and I think that it's like I'm not like mad at the writers per se, but it makes me not like because it's well written for the most part, but it makes me not like Julie more. I'm like,
Mm,
you're
Yes.
so obsessed with like being connected to a guy that like you're so I don't know. She like makes bad decisions because she just
Yes.
like has to have a romantic,
yeah.
I
you
very
know.
much agree.
Yeah. Wow. That's very eye opening, Molly. I mean, now thinking about it, it would have been great to just see her do this Habitat for Humanity that Tami kind of forced her to do. And she got enjoyment from doing that
Right.
and no guy.
Right.
Exactly. Or like just had this guy as a like a friendship and we're like,
And they
you
talked.
really inspired me and
Right.
you got me over this hump in my life and this breakup and like why did we have to go romantic? And like thank you Molly for bringing up Tyra because
Yeah.
other than that, you don't remember her having any other storylines besides being surrounded with Matt, which granted we did love them as a couple and I think they could have had a
Mhm.
very and might still have a very good relationship. But then we have the Swede and then we had her teacher and then like it was like just all these guys and it's just
Mhm.
very boring and tiring and the fact that we're now just jumping into another potential relationship, it's like, ugh,
Mhm.
can we just have something different for her?
Yeah.
So it
Yes.
makes her a little bit unlikable, even though it's not her fault.
Right.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Frustrating.
exactly. It's like now I'm like doubling back. I'm like, maybe I just don't like Julie because of the plot line
Right.
she's given. But also,
Right.
it's like that's
I
the
know, it's
name
like
of
a
the
full
game with
circle
the TV
moment.
show.
I know. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's always about a guy. And I mean, I think she's a really good friend. And so it's like sucks that we didn't get to see a little bit more of that. Like she wasn't a great girlfriend all the time, honestly. And so like, but she was a good friend to Tyra and she was a good friend to barely to Devin and you know, so it's
Yeah.
Mhm.
like let's see her be something other than a girlfriend or whatever or a love
Yes.
interest. I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. Jacqueline, she wants to know, did either of you have a job where you had to clean toilets? I feel like it's such a first job trope, but I definitely cleaned toilets at my first job at a grocery store.
Hell no.
Yeah, I
Hell
never
no.
did. I didn't have to clean toilets at the deli. That was my first like job besides pet sitting and babysitting.
Yeah, I've had two jobs where I've had to clean toilets. So
Oh.
and one is like chiller than the other, but I actually, when I was in the fifth grade, my parents, we moved within the same town, but my parents opened up a bed and breakfast. And so I actually worked at the bed and
Oh.
breakfast
Oh,
for like the whole rest of the time that I was at home. And so obviously like you had to clean the rooms and, change the sheets and clean the bathrooms and all that stuff. Now, it was only like a 3-bedroom B&B, so it was like small. And obviously, like at a B&B, for the most part, like your clientele isn't like, like
Yeah.
you're not like getting
Grimy.
into like crazy
Gross.
messes like you would at like, a hotel or something.
Yeah.
But then I think I mentioned actually earlier, I worked at the pool. And
Mhm.
so I did that for like a handful of years all through high school and like first year of college. And there were like some like opening shifts and then like closing shifts and stuff that you had to do, like, cleaning and whatever. And so like honestly, like for the most part, we kind of just like, because it was all so wet everywhere anyway, we honestly just like hosed everything
Mhm.
There you go. That's a
down.
I
good
would
way
do
to
the
do it.
same thing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like what Vince was doing, which was like, like
Scrubbing.
on your
Like
on your knee
under.
scrubbing and
Oh.
so it wasn't quite that like intimate, but definitely there, like if I was like the female on that shift, like I would go into the women's restroom and clean up. And so anyway.
Mm.
Yeah.
Will has some trivia. The community organizer in this episode played one of the central characters of season 1 of The Wire, D'Angelo Barksdale. Another reason why you should watch that show. Watch the first season of The Wire. We've talked about this. Have you watched The Wire, Molly?
I haven't, and I'm like honestly embarrassed by it because it's like totally my type of show.
Yeah.
And I just need to watch it.
Right.
It's like one of those things, like I know it's not going to be like an easy watch all the time. So it's like
Exactly.
you just have to be in the right like mindset to watch it. But I know it's amazing and it's like absolutely up my alley. So I just need to watch it.
That's exactly why I haven't gone back, because I'm not in really the mindset to watch that important type of show. And I'll admit
Mhm.
that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so Vic sent over some rapid fire for you. Are you ready?
Okay, let's see how rapid I can be. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Tyra or Lila?
Tyra, for sure.
Tim or Jason?
Tim,
Who's
for
your
sure.
Who's your crush?
I mean, Tim problematically and like Coach.
Yes.
Who'd be your best friend?
Good question. I mean, I would like to say Tyra just because I think she's like such a badass and I love her. I mean, as like an adult, like Tami, because like now I'm adult. So it's like I look at it a
Right.
little differently. But in high school, like, Tyra, or I don't know, like maybe even like a little bit of Matt. But then like there would also be some of like Jason in there. Like, I don't know, I kind of like blurred the lines of like clicks, if you will. So like it was kind of all across the board. But I'm gonna go with Tyra because I just admire her.
Okay. Becky or Julie as Tim's friend?
Oh, I mean,
Julie? Oh, I guess.
I mean, he never like hit on Julie, but I just like Becky better.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
guess Becky.
Landry or Vince?
Oh,
I know.
what a conundrum. I mean, for Jess or like just in general?
I think, according to you, for Molly.
I'm gonna go Vince for Jess. And then like in general, I will go Landry just because we've known him longer.
That's fair. Yeah. And then F, marry, friend zone, Tim, Matt, or Jason?
F Tim. Marry Matt, friend zone Jason.
Yeah, I think that's what we'd have to do.
Yeah, that's my answer too.
Mhm,
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you hire an ex-con depending on what they were arrested for?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that's like becoming more of like a kosher thing these days. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
like, we have, organizations here in Kansas City and I'm sure all across the nation that are like specifically targeted towards like, people coming out and like figuring out how to like do life again.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think like obviously there are certain things that like get really tricky, right? Like if someone, I don't know, like if there was like something with like an underage person, then obviously like they maybe shouldn't have a job that's like dealing with minors
Underage
or
people.
something.
Mhm.
I don't know,
Right,
you
right.
know. So
Yep,
there's
yep,
like
yep, yep, yep.
some
Mhm.
obvious like lines to draw. But yeah, I think so. I mean, it would obviously depend on like maybe what they did or the situation or whatever. But yeah, I think so. I mean, especially in like Vince's situation, like he's such a young kid and it's just like you know, he's just a result of like his circumstance. So it's like you have to give him a chance, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
What about you, Liz?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think I agree. Absolutely. Depending the degree, it would, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for sending your questions. What was your favorite quote? Mollie, we'll start with you.
okay. Oh, I actually have two. I'm
Okay.
cheating as per usual. When Tim said I was due for a rinse.
Yes.
Ooh. It was really funny, but also I was like, oi, you just know what that boy smells like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then I loved like it's like it was like funny, but it's also kind of like a like if you think about it harder, like it's like a deeper like meaning to it, like in terms of coach evolving when they're at Carroll Park and like the other team is showing up and Tammy's like, hey, babe, whoa, 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 I think we have a problem. And he's like, oh, that's just the other team. I love that
Yeah.
quote. I was
Mhm.
like, anyway, I love that. I thought it was like just a cute, quippy response, but it was also like kind of showed his
Yeah,
like comfortability with like his new
Mhm.
situation, which
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Liz, what do
and
you have?
then oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mollie.
I was going to tell you Tyler's.
Oh, yes, Tyler's. Yes. Oh,
He
excuse me,
said
Tyler.
he loved when he was like it was problematic, but he always kills him. So when he said me and her had some history before she played for the other team.
Oh
Oh,
my
buddy.
God. The extra buddiness of this episode.
Yes. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt you, Liz.
That's okay. I only just had Tinker Bell because that really got me.
And then I
Yeah.
had, do you know by proxy, I've now kissed Glenn.
Yes, that's a good
Which,
one. I love
yeah.
it.
Favorite coaching corner moment in the episode, Mollie?
Yeah, Tyler and I had the same one, and it was when coach like had that recruiting moment with the
Me
like
too. With
8th
Maurice.
grade kid.
Me
Yes, Maurice.
too.
Yes.
I
I
teared.
loved that.
I
I like
teared
got
too.
emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that he like talked to the kid and was, and then he turned was that guy's name Eldon or did I make
Eldon.
that up? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
turned to Eldon and was like, you make sure he shows up, okay? Like I
Oh,
just like I loved
know.
it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
obviously you could say like that's a little selfish because coach like wants a talented kid, but also
Right.
like
Yeah,
he's
I know. I know what you mean.
but like
Mhm.
I just think like we've seen it time and time again with coach. Like he obviously has like he cares about winning and having a good team, but he also like cares a lot about like the kids and everything. So
Yeah.
we both loved that moment.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh.
think it just shows that coach is like the ultimate coach.
Mm-hmm,
He's
mm-hmm.
coming into this town and like I can see, in a few years this kid joining his team and changing his life. The trajectory of
Yeah.
his life could be so different if he had someone who looks out for him like coach does. And coach just literally, for lack of better words, coaching these kids is really going to help keep them out of trouble.
Yeah.
So it's all like a win-win for everyone, hopefully. So I really did love that moment.
I'm glad we all had that. Even Tyler.
Yeah,
Like it's unanimous.
even Tyler.
Yes. Yeah. We normally don't have like the same answers, but it was just like
Yeah.
it was so clear, I feel like.
Yeah. MVP and shittiest. Mollie, who's your MVP?
So my MVP for the episode was Ray. I thought he like really like he's doing the right thing for the town. Like he showed up, he was like so kind of standoffish and didn't really want to be involved when we met him. And he showed up to the like little meeting about Carroll Park and helped organize it and all that stuff. And like even when these like two like white guys roll in and they're like, we're gonna save everything, and then he's like, shut up, you are not, and also you're not doing it alone because they're not gonna, you know, he's like, all right, let me get involved because like you're not gonna know how to do this. So I love that. And then he gave Vince the job, which like I think was probably against every instinct he had. So I loved that. And then I also gave a blue ribbon to Tim because I feel like I mean, we didn't see a ton of him, I felt like this episode, but you know, he was like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I love Taylor Kitsch and, you know, and swoony over Tim, but he's like owning up to things and trying to make things right. And he like, we saw him like be a little bit anxious about something for like kind of the first time I feel like ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just like he like cared enough about it to like try and fix it. So I like
Yeah.
Who did Tyler choose?
Eldon.
Oh, nice. Good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, Liz?
I had Virgil. I loved everything about him.
Yeah.
I feel like that was like what Mollie said, like that just he felt as though he needed to do this, but he didn't have the tools, but he's still helping, and he really is softening up and gave the job to Vince even though he really does not care for the kid. But
Oh wait, is his
like,
name Virgil? Did I call him Ray?
yes, but it's Ray's barbecue, right?
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be
Yes.
is that like his dad's name maybe?
I'm not really sure. It's like Virgil, Big Mary, and then
It's
I
very
think of him as
confusing.
Ray as well.
Yeah.
But I knew
It's
who
like
you meant.
interchangeable. Yeah.
Like literally Liz, I was like, who's Virgil?
And
then
I'm
you're
like,
he gives
yes, Ray, of course. Like, right? We both were like, oh, we know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I totally
for
interrupted
him.
you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, like that's really truly why I picked him, was the reasons why you did as well. And I'm happy to see his growth, and I hope it continues more. And I look forward to seeing maybe he could be more of a father figure to Vince after all, because Vince obviously doesn't have that person in his life currently. So yeah.
Yeah, I
Sean?
chose Vince. I just was very proud of him in this episode. I feel like he went forward. He's had the courage to go to coach, like, hey, can you help me? Can you vouch for me? He got a job. He's doing really good at the job. He holds back with Jess. He holds back with Landry. Much respect to Landry. Okay, holds back with Calvin and his buddies. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, I had him as a blue ribbon. I was very proud of him as well.
Yeah. So I know we talked about we had trouble with shittiest. Liz, did you have a shittiest?
I actually just put McDick because, like, JD, even though he's not there, he's still a dick.
No, we had that. People wrote JD even though he really wasn't in this episode.
Because he's a disrespectful little fucking brat.
Right. Yeah.
Can
Mollie,
you guys confirm
Tyler?
something for me?
Yeah.
Before Mollie has her shittiest. Like, are we phasing them out because we haven't seen them in the last 2 weeks? We saw like a little bit of them to remember them here, but like, it's okay. I thought that was a spider. It's okay.
They're not on the island.
Okay, I figured that, but are we like phasing them out?
Like there's a thing that's going to happen.
Okay, that's it. That's all I need to know. For the most
part. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I said I wasn't going to make big predictions because I truly don't remember, but I know.
Well, you'd remember if they were like coming into next season, right?
I know that for sure. I can confirm that if you want, but
are they?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I feel like I don't
No.
remember what the big thing is that
Spoiler,
happened.
Friends.
But
no.
But yeah, I feel like that's kind of why, like, because we have like sneaked ahead. And so that's why like that scene with Joe was kind of like, what is this guy doing here again? Like, because I kind of forgotten about them a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, which I think is, anyway, it's interesting because like they were such good villains. So it's like interesting that like we didn't need those villains anymore. But I did give a blue ribbon to Joe because I thought he was being really manipulative about the like, oh, well, the split and the whatever. I don't know. I just don't like him.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Same.
Gross.
But my primary shittiest, I actually said Mayor Rodell because she won't turn the lights on.
Yes, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
I couldn't come up with anything.
Yeah, I know.
I really didn't feel that
Calvin
way.
Like his friends. Cop
yeah.
out.
Right, like why couldn't she turn the lights on? Because of electricity, they'll turn them off.
Well, like the money, I guess, but
I
it's
guess
just like
yeah, the money.
I don't know. And
Yeah.
Tyler actually put Luke, which like I think is pretty like probably controversial. He was
Hmm.
like, I think he was like into the first interaction he had with Becky where he was like, okay, like whatever, And then they're like, I think probably second where he was kind of like, I don't know that I'm comfortable with that. Like I'm gonna have to live with that, whatever. He was kind of Tyler's like, I don't know, wrong move, man. Like don't try and like put
Wow.
your like this isn't about you, this is about her. So like don't. Anyway, so he picked Luke, which I thought was interesting. He doesn't like have any beef with Luke, but
That is
Interesting.
interesting.
Yeah. Because I didn't read it like that, but
Same. I was like really okay with him
being
at least
supportive
giving his 2 cents. Like this kid is his, you know.
and
and caring, like as a young boy, like
Right. He
even
could have been like, oh, gotta get rid of it. I can't live my life like that, you know.
right.
yeah. Yeah, I thought it was interesting too, because like I kind of did the same thing. But like it was interesting because like Tyler had obviously the male perspective on it, which like you
Yeah.
would think would be kind of flip-flopped, right? And so I thought it was interesting he thought that. And maybe he was just putting himself in like those shoes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was an interesting. I mean, I don't think it was like a super strong feeling
Right,
because
right.
like we
Yeah.
all said, it's like hard to
Yeah.
come up with the shittiest for this episode. So
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Let's go into our booster of the week. Liz, who's our lion booster?
Our booster is Tish.
Tish.
Tish, I wanted to actually thank you on Mike for sending Michelle and I birthday presents. It's been a while since then, and we just wanted to thank you so much, and that we miss chatting with you. I know you're in and out because you're so busy, but we love when we get to hear from you and with your One Tree Hill goodness and all of the gossip and drama that's going on over there on that channel. But we just wanted to shout you out and say thank you, and that we are always love when we get to hear from you, and we love that you have continued your support, and we again appreciate all of your thoughtfulness.
Thank you, Tish. She sent us the most delicious smelling candles.
Yes.
And like little, you guys should check out her podcast, TV Deep Dive. I will link it in the show notes.
Yes.
And she talks about teen dramas and stuff. Definitely check it out. I also want to shout out Cambria for joining our Patreon. They
Woohoo!
joined the Clear Hearts tier. My brain just like went out. Liz saw that. Liz saw the train just leaving the station. But thank you
And
so
I was
much.
like, I was
Yeah.
gonna help you, but
Yeah.
I was like, we can cut it if you want. We can cut it.
Yeah, you can cut it. You can see how it sounds when we edit it. But thank you so much for joining our Patreon. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, so an emoji for this episode to pair. What are we thinking? I was thinking a light bulb for the light.
Okay.
Maybe
I
something
also was
different.
thinking maybe like a pregnant person, but I feel like did we use that before when Tami was
When
pregnant?
Tami was pregnant.
Maybe.
Mollie,
What else?
what do you think?
I never got to think about the emoji.
I always forget to think about the emoji. It's
Yeah,
okay.
I think either of those is good. I think for the purposes of like, putting it in an Apple review, the light bulb would maybe be easier to use.
It's
Yeah.
true. That is
Yeah,
true.
Like,
so if you yeah.
light up your life with Total Betty.
There you
There you
go.
go. That's exactly what we're talking about. If you've made it this far, we always pair an emoji with the episode in hopes that you will leave us an Apple Podcast review. If you're enjoying the show over there, rate us 5 stars. You can use Mollie's tagline. That would be amazing. Also, send us the emoji. We just want to know you're listening. You can send us an email, a DM on Instagram, in the Discord. We love when we get them. Just send us the emoji. You don't even have to send us any text. We just want to know you're listening. And it makes us so happy.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, Liz. I'm going to give you the title for next week. Next week, we are live.
We
So
are.
if you are part of our Patreon and you enjoy that sort of thing, you can come join us. We're going to watch the episode and then you can watch us talk about it live. Okay, so this is for season 4, episode 10, titled I Can't. And the quote is, "Why do you keep doing this to me? I mean, am I that bad, Vince?"
Oh, I was thinking we were going Becky there, like to Tim. Vince, yeah, to Jess. to Jess for sure, because she's acting super weird around him. And I can tell, as we've mentioned, like, yes, there is a history, but like, why? Like, I want to hear from her mouth why she's so afraid to like give in to him. Obviously, we know Landry is there as well, but Vince is probably like, wait, maybe we have done this before and I don't really understand why you cut it off, or maybe I do understand, but like, I don't think I'm that bad for you or that bad anymore, or trying to get better, so can't you just see that I'm trying to get better? Yeah. I'm interested. Well, I mean, I think she's super great for Landry. I also just love Landry with anyone that he's with, because he's such a good partner that he'll be great to anyone, and they'll be great to him because he's so amazing. So I like them together because I feel like it's different and fun and fresh. And I feel like while he's really invested, he's not like Tyra invested, like this obsession, at least not yet. And maybe he learned his lesson and his heart will never heal truly. And he's like, can't let myself jump in with 2 feet because of that whole situation. So maybe he'll be like heartbroken, but like not enough where he's calling her and saying, I'll never forget about you kind of
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
And maybe Jess and Vince will eventually try it.
Okay. Going off of what Liz said, Molly, I know you've watched ahead, so you know what happens. How do you feel about Landry and Jess? Do you like them as a couple where they are at now?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're really cute. I feel like Landry's always kind of like the unexpected love interest just because he is kind of like put up as like the nerdy, like weird band kid,
Yeah.
whatever. So, and like Jess is obviously like has like a very different life than him. And so I mean, to your point too, Liz, like I like Landry with anyone because he's just such a good, likable guy that it's like makes like the transitive property of him makes the relationship likable.
Mm.
I just feel like so I do like them together and I don't want Landry to get his feelings hurt because I love him. But I just feel like there's like I can't even like explain it because we haven't really seen a ton yet, but like I feel like their Vince and Jess's chemistry is really good. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
just like I feel like I want to see that happen with them and like I just feel like it would be I don't know.
Steamy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost like a Tim Lila situation where Tim like couldn't seem to get it together until Lila was like, "All right, I will do this with you." And he was like, "Whoa, I needed that so much and I needed guidance." Where I feel like Jess is already been that inspiration in Vince's life, and especially obviously in his mother's life. Like everyone sees like, oh, Jess, she's gonna go places, she's driven, she's a good girl, she helps the family out, she's hardworking. And then Vince is like, wow, that's really attractive. I mean, obviously she's gorgina, so we know why he's attracted to her, and also of all the qualities that she holds. So I feel like already her being in his life changes him. So I can only imagine them being in a romantic relationship, that would just really go the distance. I'm hopeful. I'm here for it either way. No, I'm like a broken record with that. Like any couple, give me any couple, just not Becky and Tim. Just not Becky and Tim. But the other couple, I'm cool. We're good. We're golden. I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. I agree. All right, we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah.
LOL.
I can't though.
I can't.
I mean, nobody asked me if they think she's gonna have the baby or not. And I'd like to just give my 2 cents here.
Go ahead. Take the stage.
I would love to see a baby, obviously, because I'm pro babies all the time, love babies. I'm also, pro choice as well. So she can please do what's best for her life and body. Um, I would think it would just be really interesting dynamic to bring a teen pregnancy into this mix. So I'm in a way hopeful for it, but also like can understand why it wouldn't happen too. Maybe it's just something that like shook her up. It's going to shake up the whole situation and we're going to go forward from there. But if I had to predict, she probably won't have the baby. Just saying.
Okay. Good prediction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last but not least, we do have Will's football poetry corner. Strong side. The strong side of the field is half the field with the most offensive players. For example, if a team has a formation with 2 tight ends and 1 receiver on the left side is the strong side. This episode is where everyone shows their strong sides. Between Buddy, Julie, Vince, Landry, Luke, Becky, Coach Taylor, Tami, Tim, the organizer, Virgil, everyone is following their moral compass and looking out for other people or taking a stand in their own personal lives.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we couldn't pick a shittiest, because everyone was doing their due diligence.
I know.
So
that was great. Well, thank you so much. Mollie, thank you so much for being
Mollie.
here. This was
It was so
fun.
exciting. I love it. I will talk Friday Night Lights like all the time. My sister's like, "You're obsessed. You have to stop talking to me about it."
Oh, well, no, that's
so are you liking where season 5 is going? And do you have like, obviously without telling me, but like, do you have like hopes for what you're going to see in the finale? Like, is it going a place where you feel like you could like see the future in a way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like, I don't know, like I am a little bit nervous that the finale is going to just be like full, like viewer, what's like, there's a term I'm looking for where it's like, they just like write something in like to like please the viewers, you know what I mean? So like, I am a little bit nervous about that. Just because like you kind of want to rally the troops, but like I have faith in the writers. I think that they'll, do it justice. I think that the thing that I'm like the most interested in how it'll go down is like where we end up with Coach, because I feel like the whole, I don't know, like there was the whole Team U thing, and like he's such a good coach, and I feel like I don't know, there would be like an easy, like, okay, Coach is like leaving high school coaching and is going on, like that's not a spoiler, like I don't,
no, like that would
doesn't
make
happen
sense
as far as I know. And then they bring everybody back to like do some sort of tribute to Coach or something, so like that's how you get to see Smash and Jason and Matt and Tim and like everybody, and then like the current players, like kind of everybody in the room or something. I have no idea if that happens or not. That's just,
I would love it.
I can see that happening, and so like that would be like a good way to do it. So I don't know, I just know that like, I don't know, I feel like all those people have to come back in some way. Like we haven't seen Tyra, you know what I mean? Like some of those people, I mean, she wouldn't come back for that, so that's a bad prediction, but I just feel like there's something that has to happen where we kind of bring everyone back together.
Totally.
And hopefully it's not for something like horribly sad.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I like where season 5 is going, and there's like, as with everything, there's things where you're like, oh, I love that. Like I love where they took that, and then there's things where you're like,
Who's currently like your favorite character in season 5? Like whose storyline have you enjoyed the most so far?
That's a good question. I feel like I really continue liking Jess a lot. I think she's like a really strong female character, like opposite of Julie, in the way where we're saying like she just has to be with a guy and blah blah blah, whatever. Like Jess is very, like, she has her own moral compass. She like sticks to what she believes in. She stands up for what she believes in. She has like really good priorities. She's just like passionate and smart and all those things. I just really, really like her a lot. So she's one of my favorite characters moving into season 5.
Nice.
Yeah, I think her.
Okay, that's why I wanted to just give me a little taste of what to expect, and I'm really excited for that. Yeah. Do you remember, Michelle?
Yeah.
All right. Oh,
and
she remembers.
And I love the finale. So I hope the series finale. So I hope when I rewatch it,
you'll love
this podcast and with you guys, and I wasn't dissecting it and discussing it and nauseum, right? But I hope I feel the same way.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, because we've loved every minute of it thus far.
I remember Aunt and I were both really like, we were satisfied and happy with it. So it would be weird if I was like, oh my God, I hate this.
Yeah.
We need a rewrite. Yeah. But thank you again, Mollie. We so appreciate you joining us. You're just a wonderful guest, and hopefully you win the guest spot again so you can come back and talk with us.
Come back season 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like my opportunities for FNL is like dwindling, but like, we've got 7 more seasons of We Are Liars. So
Absolutely.
So true.
come check us out on We
true.
Are Liars if you're a Talkin Texas Forever fan.
There she goes. We don't pay any of them, we swear, but they
We
always
don't.
seem to give
I
us
know.
some promo.
They just promote for us. They're amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, come back next week. We'll be discussing episode 10. I